never seen anything like that. I mean, I've seen jiu-jitsu, but those guys are amazing.
A great honor to have the Machado brothers.
Machado.
It's Carlos Machado.
All right, everybody. Carlos Machado here for another episode with Coffee Time with Carlos Machado. I'm having the pleasure to have the one and only one of my black belts, Mr. Travis Lutter. Not just one of my black belts, my first ever black belt. So there's more to say about that. But Travis was very gracious. I called him in the middle of the ice storm in Dallas where the world was about to collapse. And we're supposed to have a meeting then. And I said, hey, Trav, I think the weather's bad. So here we are. Travis, welcome to this podcast, man.
Thank you, Carlos, for inviting me and having me on today. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure, man. I don't get to see you as often as I'd like to,
Yeah.
but it seems like that's okay.
Yes.
This seems like I saw you yesterday. You know
Always.
what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like
I agree.
we have to catch up.
Yes.
So we're just talking, and we're going to go every order here. We're talking about when you're looking at the podcast here
Yeah.
about the great Dan Inosanto that
Yes.
you, in a happenstance in an airport in Montreal.
Yeah.
And you told me something about you just saw him there.
Just met him, and when I walked up and introduced myself. I was a little beat up at the time after the fight.
Yeah.
So it's like, and I talked to him for a few minutes. My first martial art I ever did would be wrestling. But when I got kicked off the college team for a short time, and I started doing JKD then. So it's like I did that for a while, and
I had no idea.
yeah, so I did that for a couple of years.
Are you serious?
Yeah, before I started jiu-jitsu and stuff like that. And then it's like when I moved to Texas, I went into boxing and kickboxing and stuff like that. But yeah, so we did, JKD with a guy that trained with him in California. So it was very exciting when I got to meet him at the airport. It's like, and just say hello.
Isn't that crazy? I've known you for 30 years.
Yeah.
And only now I figured out you had a couple of years of JKD.
Yeah. It was.
Go
yeah,
figure.
Yeah, it was fun.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, and we're talking about Danny Inosanto, the first time he ever came to our academy.
Yeah.
He was a track and field athlete that
Right.
had some injuries from his, I guess, college days. And he was coming to try a jiu-jitsu class, not sure if he would ever be able to do it. And my brother Higa at the time warmed him up and did some drills. And then he did the session. And lo and behold, by the end of the session, he said his back was feeling better. And he stuck with it. And he had been the most regular student we ever had. He did 5 private sessions a day. Can you imagine that, Travis?
Yeah, that's crazy.
5?
A day or a week?
No, not a day. I'm sorry. 5 private sessions a week.
A week. Yeah,
Once a day. My bad.
that's 5 a day.
And I remember it was always at 7 a.m. He was an early bird. And I remember once or twice a week, I would be there and teach him. And then my brothers would take turns and teach him. My brother John and Higa. At that time, we had our school in Redondo Beach, so everybody was kind of teaching the same
Right.
place. And man, and he was like also not only the most regular private client we ever had
Yeah.
for literally years, but apparently he did seminars every weekend.
Yeah.
So he had the most mileage on American Airlines. There was nobody on American Airlines. That's the kind of commitment this
Yeah.
gentleman have. Great
Yeah.
guy. Yeah. Okay. So is it South or North Dakota?
South.
South Dakota.
Dakota.
Okay.
South
So up to what age were you there?
I was there till I was like 24, I think.
24?
I think so.
And you said, I remember.
23.
You said,
23.
so how long did you do wrestling for? Because I know you
I
got
wrestled
some.
in high school and college.
Okay.
And then and then I started doing jiu-jitsu with you in like 97, I think.
Wow.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So is
Crazy, huh?
yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So what was it? I guess a lot of people say having a wrestling background and doing jiu-jitsu is always a plus
Yeah.
because
I
you have the
think so.
base, the takedowns.
Right.
And how did you feel? Because when I looked at you, I remember you liked to play half guard and you had the butterfly guard, the bread and butter right there. You're pretty good with that. How did you adapt?
When I started jiu-jitsu, I made the commitment that I was going to learn jiu-jitsu. It's like I was, it's like I was a good wrestler. It's like I wasn't a great wrestler or anything like that. I was a good wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
I was better probably in college. for the time that I was there than I was in high school. And then, but when I started doing jujitsu, I was committed to doing jujitsu. It's like I wanted to be good for my guard, and so it's like when I would start a match, I would start, it's like I wanted to play for my guard. And I was, I didn't want to rely on wrestling and taking people down and stuff like that. So it's like I would even pull guard in tournaments and stuff like that,
Yeah.
simply because I wanted to be good at jiu-jitsu. I wanted to have a good guard. I wanted to, it's like you have a very good guard. It's like the guy who got me, the reason that I started jiu-jitsu is because of Hoist Gracie,
Mhm.
and his guard it was a great guard, and he made it work for MMA. And at that time, that's what I thought I needed to do, and so I really focused on having a good guard, and I still like playing guard.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. One thing you struck me in regards to your guard in terms of philosophy, okay? And maybe this is an evolution
yeah,
that you may have had either as a practitioner or as a coach. And I'm not sure if MMA has anything to do with it, but I remember you taught one session in one of our summits, our
yeah,
affiliate meetings.
yeah,
And I'm not sure if it was an omoplata that you chose not to finish from the guard, but you
right,
chose to reverse the guy
right,
first. And
yes,
when I asked you, don't you finish? You like to get on top first, be
right.
in a dominant position, and then you take care of business then.
Right. With the omoplata, I think that, I think a lot of guys attack it wrong by going for the submission first. I'm going to go for the position because I feel like the way that it works out, it's like if I attack the submission, it's more likely that they can get away, if I miss the submission and then they're still on top, versus if I attack the reversal and then they fight the reversal, then I'm more likely to get the submission. It's like off of that. So I preferred to attack the position. You always said position,
Yeah.
submission.
Yeah.
And that was my attitude towards the omoplata.
Yeah.
Is I would attack for the position of it versus going for the submission right away.
Yeah.
And I still play that way with the omoplata.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing, though, philosophy wise, that I can relate to you, and in more recent times, uh, when I do guard, my first goal is to reverse the guy.
Right.
I'm not even worried about submitting the guy first. The submission is a secondary
Yeah.
goal. The primary goal, I want to get on top.
Yeah.
And then from there, okay, now I'm in control. Then we see what happens from then on.
Right.
And I think for MMA, especially the fact that you have to deal with strikes and stuff,
Right.
I think it would be, the main game. Don't you agree with that?
I agree. I don't want to be on my guard in MMA. I'm, it's like I think the guys who play too much pull, that's when you're pulling the guy in, it gets you hit, and things like that. I like to push, push, and then I'm either going to try to stand up and try to take them back down,
Yeah.
or as they're pushing in to try to hold you down, then you can
Then
go
you
for
reverse. Yeah,
reversals.
I like that momentum.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny you said that because I remember ADCC back in the old days. You had Jeff Monson,
Yes.
right? And he won quite a few events using wrestling.
Right.
And then as he became more acquainted with jiu-jitsu, lo and behold, he started to pull guard and do half guard.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Oh no, he would use that half guard to single leg and come
Man.
up with that, and he was really good at at that.
I remember even my brother Hegan, he had some moments that he had Mark Kerr coming to
Yeah.
our gym to work out. And Mark Kerr was a stud, right?
Yeah, yeah.
The guy's top-notch wrestler. And despite the fact Hegan has good wrestling, decent wrestling, he was not to the level that could just willingly take
Right.
Mark Kerr down.
Right,
But he would pull guard and then from that do a single leg.
right,
And then he was able to kind of equalize a bit whatever differences they had in their
Right.
game.
yeah,
Interesting, right? When you blend the two.
yeah. No, I agree. It's like you work in the single leg. It's like Jeff Munson. He was in the Ultimate Submission Showdown that Jorge Gracie put on years and years ago. Your brother was there. Higgin was there watching. I remember talking to him after the matches. So the Ultimate Submission Showdown was after he'd sold the UFC.
Yep.
And then I competed in that, and it's like he had his two sons.
Yep.
Jorge,
Hero
Haran
Henner.
and Henner. Yes,
yeah.
they both competed in that, and then Jeff Munson was on in that also, and then there was some other guys, David Avalon, So it's like my first match was against a sambo guy, and I submitted him with like a triangle. And then my next match was against, I think, Haran, who had went against Jeff, and it was like an hour-long match that they had, where they were going back and forth. But he would reverse Haran really, really quick. It's like but they gave Jeff, I think, 2 points, or gave Haran 2 points because of the weight difference. Because Jeff was really,
Oh, I see.
really big, and
see.
so and if you scored the first person to 12, but I think you had to have an extra point or something like that, like 2 points, and so it's like it took that long for Haran to get that many points because you'd hold the whole guard for I think 4 minutes or 3 minutes, and then they give you a point and then put the other guy on the bottom.
I got
So it was a different rule set. I actually really liked the rule set that he came up with. For me, it worked well for me. But yeah, so it's like, but yeah, Jeff lost Haran, and then I went against Haran in the next match, and I beat him in like 8 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
So
I remember that. I remember.
yeah,
Yeah. So going back to your upbringing and then your relocation to Dallas and eventually your, initiation in jiu-jitsu and trying to really get good in jiu-jitsu, and all the experience that you had, tell me about those days. Because I remember we had some moments that were interesting, like you were going to Brazil as a blue belt,
yeah,
and competing at the World Championships, right?
1998, yeah, 1998, yeah,
And,
it's like, yeah.
and man, you had a once mindset, taking care of business, man. You didn't care, right? How was your competitor mindset?
So up to that point, I had about 30 jujitsu matches. I sat back and counted them, up to that point, and I'd won them all by submission. It's like, and I didn't really, it's like you understood the points, but not like I understood the reversals, but I didn't understand advantages and stuff like that. I was a blue belt, so it's like, and it's like, didn't understand that part of it. So I was just always just trying to
Go
kill
for the
people.
kill.
Yeah. It's like, and, so like all the matches that had led up to that tournament, I had submitted everybody, and I submitted my way to the finals,
Yep.
in Brazil. And then I ended up losing,
By
2-2.
technicality.
Yeah. It's like, an
Which I
advantage.
was actually disappointed because you
Yeah.
were attacking the guy all the time.
Right.
And I remember you made him bleed. You,
Yeah,
you
I
had the X choke on him, and
Yeah.
he was stuck his chin. So he definitely was stalling,
Yeah.
and you were initiating and being the aggressor. It was one of those things like you left a bad taste in my mouth at that time.
Yeah, it was unfortunate, but it's like that's competition, and
Yeah.
that happens. It was like, it was.
It was your first Worlds, right?
It was, yeah. I mean, that's
And
1998.
you got a silver medal.
Yeah, it's like, and that was only the third Worlds that had ever happened, right?
Yeah.
I think they started in 96.
Yep.
96, 97, 98.
Correct.
So yeah, it's like the third one.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, it was a good experience though. I had, it's like I would have liked to have won, but it's like it was still a very good
You still
experience.
felt,
Yeah.
it was worth the trip.
Oh, it was definitely worth the trip. It was fun.
What an adventure, huh? Going to
Yeah, it's like,
Brazil.
it's like we showed up there at like 9 o'clock in the morning, and
Have
I
to
think
wait
the
all
last
day.
match was like at 12:30 at night.
Yeah,
So it's
crazy.
like, and it's like you had told me not to go across the street, to stay in the building because at the time it was kind of dangerous.
Yeah,
and
that neighborhood was not
and
that
that
great.
in Tijuca, I think.
Yeah.
Tijuca Tennis Club.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like yeah, it was, so we'd just been in that building all day, and it's like, it was a lot of cultural shock. I'm a kid from South Dakota.
Yeah.
It was my second commercial flight that I'd ever taken. So it's like, I'd never been on a commercial airliner before that. And so, I flew to Houston and picked up a buddy's motorcycle and then rode it back for him from Houston. And then my second trips to go to Brazil. So that was a crazy experience. It was a long flight and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And, and then that was, and now it's like fast forward, I've been to a few countries
Yeah,
over
man.
the course of the years.
It was just the beginning, right?
Yeah, it was the beginning.
Get your passport and put the mileage on.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's one thing about jiu-jitsu. I think it breaks distance. Because
Yeah.
especially when you travel for a few times. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. So, um, the other thing too that's interesting about you, and we're gonna kind of dig into more like storylines and things like that. I always remember, even when you roll, when you train, and I could be wrong, but if you're rolling with a guy and the guy sweeps you, you automatically say he has 2 points on
Right.
me, and
Yes.
then say now I gotta catch up with him.
Right.
Okay, I swept and now we're even. Oh, you passed the guy's guard. No, now I had 3 points.
Right.
So, do you still keep tab on those?
Always.
Really?
I always know the
Even
score.
no matter when.
Always.
Is that
Always.
right?
Yeah. It's like, I just, it's like, I wanted to know the points, it's like, I mean, points in wrestling is a big deal. And it's like, you got to keep track of the points. It's like, to know if you need to go harder, it's like, or, it's like, and the thing I liked about jujitsu over wrestling is it's like, the final is, it's like pinning a guy is okay, but it's like, submitting them, making them tap was, I preferred that.
Yeah.
It's like, and I like that there was less rules and stuff like that, versus wrestling. So I really liked jujitsu. And then keeping points was just,
Yeah.
trained into me from wrestling
Yeah. I
all
know,
those
man.
years.
There's sometimes the rules. Do you have any particular preference in tournaments? What rules you like best based upon what you see?
My favorite rules that I've saw is that ultimate submission showdown. I really like those rules. It's like, as far as like for, they allowed slamming. I don't like that. I don't think we should, because it's like,
Yeah. It's
you
too
know,
risky. You
is
get there
yeah,
and somebody
people
breaks
get
your
hurt.
neck.
It's like
What wasn't one of the fights? Was that Henry or Hero that slammed somebody?
that was in a different tournament. That was
Okay.
that was like
One of the guy. What's his name? Cameron.
yeah, Cameron.
Yeah, was a
Yeah,
good fighter there.
yeah, he back in the day, it's like
But he
it's
got knocked out or
like
something.
knocked out, because it's like they'd gotten real good about, they'd pick you up and they'd bring your head up and then whip it and then like stop right before you're gonna hit, so they'd hit the back of your head and knock out guys. He did that a few times,
Oof.
and it's like, but it's real easy to, you know to not get picked up is you just open your guard.
Yeah,
It's
I
like,
take it here right now.
yeah.
Safety is number
Yeah,
one.
it's like but I don't like the rule of you can slam. It's
Oh,
like it's like, so I like that rule set minus the slamming. But it's like, because it's like sometimes, get in matches and you'll be with somebody that
Mhm.
you're going against, and it's a really, you're having troubles passing the guard or whatever. And if you were to reverse the position, it
Yeah.
opens up things and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
I'm in favor of technique over
Right.
slamming. Like, I mean, if you don't have the skill set to open somebody's legs
Right.
and keep your stance, you got to work on it. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And for the most part, I don't think many tournaments allow slamming.
No, I don't think so. It's like, ADCC, I think, still does, don't they?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
ADCC
Does
still
Fight
does.
to Win allow it? I think they do.
They might. I
Yeah.
think you're right. I think Fight to Win does. I don't like slamming. I just think it's, it's like, I would much prefer, it's, I don't think you should slam. Takedowns, it's like a takedown, it's like, since we come from like a judo background also, it's like, I think takedowns should be takedowns, and but I don't think I should pick somebody up with the intention.
Yeah.
It doesn't work very well, and it's like, I don't think it's practical, and
Yeah.
I understand that, like, the Gracie's feeling on it, they wanted it for,
To be
this is
realistic.
self-defense
Yeah.
and stuff like that, but jujitsu is not a fight. It's like, a fight is fight, and it's like MMA is MMA, and it's like,
Yeah.
I think it's easy to
Well,
say that it's not.
I know that you can slam in MMA. I remember Carlos Newton going with Matt Hughes. Remember that?
Right.
He was actually having the better of Carlos Newton.
Right.
I mean, of Matt Hughes at that time. But I couldn't believe that he went all the way up and
Right.
didn't let go or anything. And then, man,
Yeah.
Arona with
Right.
Rampage Jackson.
Rampage
just
knocked
like
him out. Yeah.
he was like, that's right, man. Come on.
Arona's a guy that doesn't get his credit for being as good as he was.
Oh,
It's like,
man, he was something else.
yeah, he's 13-0 in ADCC, never defeated. It's like, as a MMA fighter, he was very good and stuff
Had a
like
good
that.
record too.
Yeah, it's like
He went against the toughest guys of the era.
he did. He did. He was good. He lost to Rampage. I think he lost to, I want to say he lost to Vanderlei. Did he lose to Vanderlei? I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember. Just check on the
Yeah, I
browser
don't
there.
remember if he did or didn't. But it's like he beat Guy Metzger. I was there in Guy's corner um, when he won a kind of controversial decision against Guy. I'd have to watch it again, but I know that at the time I thought Guy won. I'd have to watch it again to be sure. But
That's
it's
the
like
thing, man.
you know,
Guy deserves more credit than he's given.
oh
That
for
guy
sure,
was right on top of the game back then, even before the Lions Den
right.
was created. What a career.
Yeah,
that
I
guy
mean, it's like he's the first, middleweight champion. The middleweight champion was 205 when he won it, but he beat Tito Ortiz with that guillotine. And then Tito beat him in the rematch, and then he went over to Pride and he fought everybody over there. It's like he lost he lost two bad fights that
Yeah.
like when he lost to Vanderlei, I thought he was winning the fight,
Yeah.
and Vanderlei headbutted him. You can see
Yeah.
it like
Yeah.
and hurt him, and then
Yeah.
he got knocked out and he was out for a little while.
Yeah.
And then when he was fighting Chuck, it's like I think he was beating Chuck right up until Chuck
Yeah.
landed one of those
Yeah, it's
sledgehammers
one of
that he
those
throws. So,
little twists that happen. If I headbutts, man, is one of those that sometimes he can put a fight
oh,
into a different course. Because
yeah.
yeah, what happened to Arona and Vanderlei?
So they fought twice and they both won. They're 1-for-1.
Oh, so
One and
each one 1-for-1.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
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 Wow. Yeah.
No,
Oh,
Arona was really, really
Legit.
good. And it's like,
Yeah.
it's like I've heard he's back in Brazil, and I saw a picture of him not that long ago. He looks good. And,
Yeah,
it's
he's
like,
too very, very
yeah,
good
fit
shape.
and
Seems
stuff
like,
like that.
Yeah. You're talking about fighters out of that era. What's your favorite fighter at that time, if you can name some or some names?
Early time, like Sakuraba was always really fun to watch.
Yeah.
It's like which is kind of like a for the Gracies, the Gracie hunter, but he was fun to watch. Because he was just, I don't know, it's like he's somebody
He had like
that,
the entertainment, right?
yeah,
He
he
come
was
with masks,
he was fun.
costumes.
It's like he smoked. It's like I don't like smoking, but it's like
Yeah.
it's just he did so many things wrong. But he could fight. It's like his wrestling was really, really good.
Yeah. He was
and
versatile.
He was versatile,
Yeah.
and it's like and not that big,
Yeah.
and could give guys that were big hard times. Like my favorite fighter is probably GSP. It's like it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
GSP is just
I think
super
GSP
nice.
incorporates more than just the fighting skills, the whole personality of that
Right.
guy. Right?
Yeah, I got to train with him on the Ultimate Fighter we got to roll a couple times. Really nice guy. It's like as far as like watching a fighter, I really liked watching GSP. It was good.
Yeah. One thing I remember from stories I heard about him, I just saw him a couple of times at TriStar. I taught a seminar one time with him right after his fight with Josh Koscheck.
Okay.
And his elbow had, like he somehow hurt his elbow.
Right.
He was inactive for like 3 or 4 months.
Oh wow.
And then he started training back again that week, and we talked about it. Super cool guy. But I remember a story about him. He used to go to my cousin Hansel's academy in New York. Yeah, I don't know if he was purple belt level at that time.
Yeah.
And sometimes you go and do just a jiu-jitsu class, and there were some guys there higher ranked than him.
Right.
They'll have the better of him on the mat.
Right.
But then when they went to the cage to do, let's say, MMA sparring,
Right.
he would just eat them alive.
Right.
So what I heard from what people were saying was like he was so good at mixing the different elements of MMA that if he was going against a better grappler, he would strike more.
Right.
If he was going a better striker, he would grapple more. So he was always matching his strength with somebody else's weakness compared to the style,
He it's like his wrestling, for being somebody that didn't really wrestle, his wrestling was really, really good. It's like his single leg defense, like when he fought Koscheck, Koscheck got him off the ground where he bounced, boom, boom, boom. And it's like, it was really, really impressive.
Yeah.
And like, I didn't understand it. And then when I trained with him, I had taken down one of the guys in training, and he wanted to
feel you.
yeah, wanted to feel it to show the other guy how to defend it, and it was a single leg, and it's like, and so I started with a single leg, and he gets his leg away, and I'm like, okay, let me try again, and it's like off of a single leg, his defense was really really good,
Yeah.
especially with strikes
Yeah.
and with the cage and stuff like that.
Yeah,
He was very tough with a single leg.
Yeah, I remember he trained for a long time with the Canadian wrestling team.
Right.
And they said that he had boxing coaches that would box. They would. That's one thing. He put guys above his level in the specific
Yeah.
style, so you always have a higher learning curve.
Right.
And then I think his strength also was, like I mentioned earlier, his ability to mix the
Yes.
elements and make him so versatile. My goodness, man, he
He's a
was
martial
something.
artist. It's like
Yeah.
he was a real martial
Yeah.
artist, and that's it's like, yeah, I think that's what he considered himself. He didn't think of himself as an MMA fighter.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of MMA fighters make the mistake of, oh, I'm going to train for this fight. I'm really good. I'm just going to train for this fight instead of just training. And it's like, GSP still trains.
Yeah.
He hasn't fought in how many years. It's like,
Yep.
and he's still training all the
Yep.
time.
Yep.
And he's always in good shape. He's always, it's like, he exemplifies basically what I think an MMA fighter should be,
Yep.
because he is always in shape. He is always training, always trying to get better. Always, it's like he goes to Austin to train with Danaher still.
Yep. Yep.
And,
He's always active.
always
Yeah,
active.
He's not
Yeah.
resting. So that reminds me also of my cousin Hickson Gracie.
Yeah.
And I remember his time, his prime. Uh, he was always ready.
Yeah.
And he told me once, he said, if I have to fight a month from now, 3 months from now, I'm great. If I have to fight 2 weeks from now, great. If I have to fight a week from now, great. If I have to fight today, great.
Great.
I'm ready.
Yeah.
So it was not like, so he's, I remember people go to the beach to hang out and just chill, watch the girls, whatever. Hickson was walking, doing power walk, going, miles back and
Right.
forth. He was always that samurai mentality, warrior,
Warrior.
ready for war.
Yeah.
You want peace, be ready.
Right.
Like Sun Tzu,
Yeah.
the art of war. And I think that mindset that he had, that's what enabled him to reach the level that he did. He was diligent on it.
Yeah, he was fun to watch. It's
Mhm.
like it's sad about the Parkinson's
Mhm.
diagnosis that he has. It's like I saw a video of him trembling. It's like that's
Yeah, I know.
really really hard.
It's
It's like,
heartbreaking. Yeah.
yeah, it's terrible.
Especially, I know him
Right.
from a
Yeah,
different
him.
perspective. I remember him vividly
Right.
when from the old times, and even when I first came to America,
Right.
training with him at the garage mats that we had in California.
Yeah.
And he was like top notch, and it's kind of hard to fathom.
It's
That,
really
you know.
age is like, time wins all the battles.
Yeah.
It's like I've met him twice, and and shook his hand, and so it's terrible,
Yeah.
that he's going through that. It's like
Yeah.
um it's I don't know how much he got hit. It's like when he fought, he didn't get hit that many times. And see, he never got knocked out, anything like that. But I don't know about training or anything like that. How
Yeah,
is
I think
it's like if his is boxing induced, or if it's just something that he was born with.
if it was trauma, I doubt it was because of the fights.
Yeah.
It probably was more on the preparation.
Right.
Because a lot of guys,
Yeah.
and that brings me to another point. When you train, especially MMA, how hard do you spar when you're preparing for a fight? Because I know some gyms, people get knocked out left and right. They go too hard,
Yeah.
and I think it may be a disservice to the athlete in the long haul.
Right.
So I don't know what your perspective is.
My perspective is that there's no way of getting around that first, like the beginning of sparring.
Mhm.
It's like if I'm going to go fight and get hit, I have to learn. And it's like, and then you can lighten up later, but it's like the reactions, like, light sparring and stuff like that. I think when you don't know anything, it's like you're not going to respect it. Getting clocked, it's like I have to feel it. I need to be scared of it. I got to respect it. Guys that are, it's like even, sometimes shin pads, it's like, and once you get kicked by a good kick, you're like, oh, okay, I don't want that to happen again. It's like with the pads on, you're like, no big deal. And then it's like, checking kicks and stuff like that. You have to have that feel.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with getting hit, so it's like, I think a guy's got to get hit. What I did that was slightly different than a lot of the guys, it's like when I walked into the boxing gym in Fort Worth, it's like I was trying to fight and stuff like that. And, in the 80s, Fort Worth had 7 or 8 champions.
notch.
Yeah, like really good boxing gyms.
This episode is sponsored by Stay Humble Coffee. Coffee is so good, it doesn't need to brag. Find it at stayhumblecoffee.com.
So it's like I'm in there in the 90s, early 2000s. So it's like the end, like the end of the kind of era, like you had all the old timers from the 80s in the gym, like they just come and watch and stuff like that. And I couldn't really understand them. They're speaking English, but their brains didn't work well enough. And most of these guys had never turned pro. They were just 80s fighters. Cause like back in the day, they, like Golden Gloves and stuff like that. And so you had all these guys that were in the gym that couldn't form sentences that I could understand. And it's like, and so you had all these guys walking around. And so like my first day of going down to a boxing gym is this, you walk in and they throw you in the ring and they have an old time boxer that beats the hell out of you. See if you come back the next day. And it's like, and he doesn't beat you up enough to knock you out. He could have knocked, but it's like, see if you're going to come back. And so you take your beating and then you show back up the next day and nobody talks about it or anything like that. But that's what happened to me that day. And I came back the next day and we did it again. And it's like, and that was kind of the first week, where you're just, and it was the same guy. His name's, what the heck's his name?
That's right.
Yeah, it's like he's a nice guy. I saw him at Trey Tellingman's birthday this year. I saw him in probably 15, 20 years. And he was there, and Freddie, and he was just a local guy that fought pro a little bit, and he's tough and he hit hard. And it's like, and I remember him sparring with Guy. I saw him spar with Trey. He sparred with everybody. Well, that first day, that's who beat the hell out of me, and broke my nose and freaking, it's like, and
he was testing you.
yes, they're just testing you, see if you're gonna come back.
That coacher, right?
Yeah, so it's like I took my beating that day, and I took my beating the next couple times that I came in, but then what I did that's slightly different is it's like I had a rule that at the end of the day, when I get in my car, I'd see if I could remember the sequence of events for the day. Because what I had realized is that I was getting a concussion. Sometimes when I'm training, I never got knocked out. I never got, I got put down by body shots. I never got put down by headshots. But I gotten concussion because I couldn't remember the sequence of the day, or maybe I couldn't remember all the things that had happened that day. So I get in my car and I go, okay, what happened today? I got up, I did this, what did I eat, and I go through the sequence. And if I couldn't remember, I would make an excuse on why I couldn't go train the next day, because I knew that they were going to want me to spar again. And it's like, or I'd come into the gym and say that, hey, I just want to go in the bag, it's like, so
you would protect yourself.
I was protecting my brain. And so I would do that, and I'd wait a week, and then I would be available to spar again. And, it's like, so I was, probably in their mind, I was probably being a,
Like a wimp.
soft, a wimp. But I was like, I just didn't care because I wanted to protect my brain. That's when CTE was coming out about the NFL and stuff like that. And I was paying attention to those sort of things. And I just wanted to protect my brain. And I knew that those guys were not going to understand,
You got some guys that you saw there, they're kind of punch drunk.
They're very, very,
unfortunately.
Most of the guys were, like most of the guys in the gym.
Yeah.
Were that way. The old timers. I'm talking about the guys that were not training themselves and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's like some of them, sometimes there were dads, there were, their sons are training there, and it's like, and you just couldn't understand them. And it's like, and I would try and stuff like that. And they weren't that old. They would be probably 10 years younger than me than I am currently now. And you just couldn't really have a conversation, and
that approach that you used,
yeah,
just it shows one thing, because if you have a concussion and you continue to
Right.
get
It
hit,
makes it worse.
you'll make it a lot worse.
Right.
At least you gave yourself a
Yeah.
lapse of time to recover, where most of the time, not everybody does that diligence to try to recall the events of the day.
Yeah.
So you, whether knowingly or just, common sense, you just,
Yeah.
man, that's incredible.
I was trying to make sure that my brain was going to be okay.
Yeah.
And then as the guy gets better, you get hit less and less and less.
Yeah.
And it becomes
You
less of
protect
an
me.
issue. It's like, because your guy's getting better. There was a time when I could go spar and not get hit that much.
Mm.
And it's like, and then, unfortunately with time, everything goes the other direction and stuff like that. So it's
Yeah.
like, but yeah, but there was a time when, a guy just didn't get hit that much. So it wasn't, I could spar more.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, I was like, trying to make sure that I didn't, so I have that attitude with the guys that come into my gym and they're sparring and stuff like that. It's like, hey, if somebody gets a flash knockdown, you're done for the day. It's like, I'm not going to have you keep sparring. It's like, whereas a lot of gyms, it becomes about, it's like, oh, you got to be tough. You got to just keep going.
Yeah.
No, you're just hurting your brain. It's like you get flash knocked down or the guy, like loses his bearings. We're done for the day and we'll come back next week and try it again. I had another guy that would come in and he would get knocked out every single time. And it's like, after it happened a few times, I was like, hey man, I'm
That's not for
sorry,
you.
but I don't think you should spar anymore. And he's like, what? We're like, and he's like, I really hurt his feelings and he quit the gym, it's like, but I don't want to,
You don't want to
you're-
have that
I'm
responsibility.
not going to have this guy's, it's like, you shouldn't do this. It's like I had another guy that, it's like he got knocked out and, it's like in the gym and it's like, hey, I don't think this is for you. And he's a black belt jiu-jitsu now. And it's like, and he's great, it's like, he's like, yeah, I think you're right. It's like, so it can go either way,
Mhm.
it's like, you never know how they're going to take it. But I just, I don't want to see somebody they can't form a sentence and,
damage.
it's like, and stuff like that. And it's like, in MMA fighters, there's going to be certain guys that went to lots of wars and stuff like that. I just really didn't want to be one. It's like when I was done fighting, I wanted to be able to have a conversation with you.
Be functional.
Yes.
That's wise. Unfortunately, that's not always
No.
the case. So how much? I know I'm going to talk about your coaching in a second, but since you mentioned MMA, so are you still actively teaching MMA, or you just do that as an extra program at your academy?
We have, I don't teach the MMA classes at my gym, but I do work with some of the pro fighters. It's like I used to work with Kevin. I don't coach Kevin anymore. But I have
Does
other
he still
guys.
train jiu-jitsu with you?
No, not right now. So,
I understand.
he's doing his own thing. And that's been going on for a while. But I've got another guy, he fought last weekend, on Friday night. He had his pro debut. He's a D1 wrestler. He won by knockout. It's like, my son, Jordan, he's fought, amateur so far.
You're still engaged?
Yeah, he's still training and stuff like that. He's
How does
doing
it
good.
feel though when you're the dad?
I don't like it at all.
Yeah.
It's
That's
like,
nerve-wracking, right?
yeah, it's like I want to. I'm there to support him, and I told him before we started that it's like, hey, there's a few rules that I have. It's like you have to take it serious. You have to do this. You gotta do that, and then if you don't, that's okay. But I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna walk away. And it's like, it's like, you're your own man. I'm not, it's like, I'm going to tell you what to do or anything like that. If this is what you want to do, that's great. It's like, I support you, but it's like, you have to do it a certain way. And it's like, and it's like, and that's my attitude with it. I don't want to see him get hurt. I don't want to have him have brain damage. It's like, and it's a risk with MMA. It's like, that you can end up with, that sort of thing. But he's doing well. And, it's like, he's, and then I've got like, there's 4 other guys that are pros that are coming over and training. Jordan, I think is the only amateur, right now, and he's training with those guys. And I work with those guys outside of classes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's, I'm just working with those guys right now. So.
The thing with MMA that I see a lot of times for coaches
Yeah.
in particular, it can be very unforgiving because I
Yes.
remember talking to Eric Paulson, to Saif,
Yeah.
at Forties, and some other guys. I see Greg Jackson's camp
Yeah.
sometimes when people come and go. The whole culture of MMA, it's a business, right?
Yeah.
So you have a fighter that you put a lot of time and effort on,
Right.
and they keep hopping around. They
Yeah.
stay with you, and I don't know, even the time that you invest on the academy and the travel and everything
Right.
else, and then not that you're thinking of the compensation, but I think as a coach, you have a family to provide.
Right.
It's time away from your family, from your business.
Yeah.
When do you see the silver lining? You know what I'm
Uh,
saying? So I don't know what you say about that.
It's kind of like, the way I view it is kind of the way I approached fighting. I didn't ever think about money when it came to fighting. It was like I was just there to try to see how good I could be. And that was the goal is I wanted to see if I was as good as I thought I was when it came to MMA. And it's like, because like back then we didn't get paid hardly anything. I got paid $18,000 to fight Anderson Silva. It's like, I mean, it's just crazy. It's like that's the we didn't do it for money at that point. I am training guys, like the reason I work with these guys is like I believe that they could be good, and I want to help them be good. And if they end up being good, I'll be happy. And it's like like Kevin. Kevin is really good. It's like I've never really made money off of Kevin. It's like I didn't. It's like there's other coaches that have made money off of Kevin, but I'm not one of them. He's, it's like Kevin is Kevin, and it's like
So you have the personality clashes sometimes that happens. You try to coach and help out, and sometimes the athlete takes its own position in.
uh,
in
it's like when I've lost, I know it was my fault. And not everybody's that way, and that's okay. And it's like it's like I will work with like Quentin and Jordan and those guys as long as they want me to. And it's like I'm not like if they like Quentin has a job, he's a wrestling coach at Westland. It's like I don't know how far he'll go. I think he has the potential to go to the UFC and have a successful career there. I believe in him. Like Jordan, I believe Jordan can make it to the UFC. It's like he's doing really, really good. With that being said, it's like if they decide they don't want to work with me, that's okay too. It's like it's just like Kevin. It's like you don't want to work with me, okay, no big deal. It's like I'm not going to. They're I didn't want to be a manager. I don't want to manage people. I don't know the promoters. I don't talk to the promoters. It's like they have to find their own guys to do that stuff. I'm not doing that job. I don't like dealing with the promoters because they're promoters, and it's like they're there to make money. And it's like I'm there to help my guy try to make his become the best he can be. And I will show them what I know, and I will try to coach them the best way I can. But it's like as far as making money, I make money off my gym. I run my business, and that's how I make money. And it's like I don't it's like I'm spent money in the past to go support for sport guys, and I probably won't do that again. It's like if they want me to go, they're gonna have to
At
pay
least
my
pay
way.
for your
At least,
expenses,
yeah, so you pay my expenses.
Mhm.
I won't do that again. But it's like I'm not doing it to, it's like I guess it's when I stopped fighting. When I stopped fighting, I had to stop fighting because of my neck. I ended up having a 3-level fusion in my neck, and it's like, and for a little while, it's like I was hoping to be able to return to fighting and things like that, and I had to, make a decision. I was no longer a fighter. It's like, and for a lot of years, I wore the hat of a fighter. That when I looked in the mirror, I was a fighter. I was a fighter, and I had to take that hat off, and then I had to decide who I was. And, it's like, and I made the decision that I was two new people, and I was
Yeah.
going to become the best coach I could be. And then I was going to also be the best father, husband that I could be.
Mhm.
And those were my two goals. And cause that's my new hat is to
Right.
be the best coach I can be. I want to support my guys. It's like, you know, and that's what I try to do. And it's like, and as far as MMA is like, I'm coaching, it's like, uh, I'll for sure go through with this batch, and then I'll make my decision if I want to do any more after
I
that.
got you.
It's like when once Jordan's done, I might be done coaching MMA.
Got you. You
So
have a vested interest at this
I
point.
have with Jordan, I definitely, and I really like Quentin, so, and then the other guys that are there, I don't know them as well. But we'll see. And it's like, it's like as far as coaching them, but I'm going to keep that attitude with these guys.
Mhm.
And I will help them as much as possible. And then after that, then I'll decide.
Yeah.
So,
So, when you talk about your injury, and I mean your background, you've done wrestling, JKD, came to Dallas boxing, kickboxing, then jiu-jitsu, then MMA. Was that something that happened at any point in time in your career, or what was the case?
I actually hurt my neck the first time where I got my first stinger in the 2000 Mundials in Brazil.
Mm.
I was on a guy's back and I slipped off the front and
Kind of done.
I landed on my head and my arm went numb.
Mm.
And that was the first time I ever had it happen. I kind of slid around and went into the guard from there, and I held on for a little bit until my arm started to work again, and then I went back to work. And then from there, I would have occasional times where I'd get these stingers.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I was training for Rich Franklin, and I was training with Alan Shabaro. He came in. He was
I think I remember what
yeah,
happened.
yeah, and he threw me, and it's like, and I landed on my head, and I had to pull out of that fight because of the throw. Not his fault, it
Were you
happens.
guys on the corner? You're supposed to start over, or it happened throughout the
I
training? You don't recall
we
the
weren't in the
details.
corner. We were in the middle of the mat, and he just went for a throw. And
Mm.
I'm 3 or 4 rounds in, with a new partner every 2.5 minutes.
So you're already kind
And
of spent.
yeah, it's like, and I just landed, and it's like it's not his fault. Um, yeah, and then when I really heard it, like because I busted the vertebrae, and it's like it was 5 days before my last fight with Rafael Nadal, uh, and it's like so. I'm training. I had a guy that showed up that I'd known for a really long time, but I'd never used him for MMA sparring. And he asked if he could help, and I didn't really know him that well. It's like, all right, I hadn't trained with him for, in a long time. I said he could, it's like, it's fine. I'll use you. And so he came in on my last round, the last 2.5 minutes. So it's like, I would do, so I'd done, four 5-minute rounds, and I'm going with a new guy every 2.5 minutes, and then I get a minute break just to like
Kinda
a
reset.
round, yeah,
Yeah.
and then I do another round with a new guy, and he was the last guy on the 20th minute, yeah, and it's like, and I had him against the cage, and I reached up and I'm hitting him, boom, 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 and he kind of spazzed out. He was steroided up, and I hit my head, like recovering the position. I ended up hitting my head. And at the time on my cage wall, it's only 5/8 inch mat. So it's not very thick.
Mm.
And there's plywood behind that. And it's like reinforced plywood.
Yeah.
And I had a bunch of pain. And so like I let go. I said, break. I recovered the position. And then, so I was still in control. And then I said, break. And I just sunk to my knees. And it's like, it was very, very painful.
You
We had
had to
everybody
pull
go,
out.
what's that?
Yeah, I assume you had to pull out of that fight.
No, I fought the fight. And it's like, it was a mistake, but it was, so what I busted the vertebrae. I didn't know the vertebrae was busted. You know, this is 5 days before the fight. My coach at the time is like, you know, I go, I don't think I can fight. He goes, no, you'll be fine. You know, you'll be fine. You'll be okay. It's going to be okay. I'm like, I don't think so. And so like I went to finish the workout, you know, so like I was like everybody goes home and I'm going to go run, and I'm with just me and the coach. And I ran about, I don't know, a quarter of a mile, and I sat down. It was like I couldn't breathe. It was very, very, you know, it's like, and so then this is when I'm having that conversation where I don't know, I'm hurt, you know, it's like, no, you're going to be okay. It'll loosen up, blah, blah, blah. And then the night of the fight, you know, it's like, you know, we're warming up, and I can't breathe. And, you know, it's like, and it's very, very painful and stuff like that.
Psychologically too, it must be.
Yeah, it's like, it's like, and it was just, you know, it's like, and the first punch, both my hands go numb. I have, you know, it feels like fire to my fingertips, and, you know, it's like, and I lost that fight. You know, I wasn't really competitive.
You're not physically fit for it.
No, well, it turned out that I broke that vertebrae. So the vertebrae was broken in half.
You're lucky not to be paralyzed.
Right, exactly. And so that's what my surgeon said. And
That pisses me off.
Yeah.
Nothing against the guy, but what a bad advice. I remember, not on the same scale, but when you were in California for your second, I guess, rematch with Hiron, and you had this crazy flu that you're on fever, you know, cold sweat at night.
Yep.
And the fight was next day, and you called me.
Yep.
And I said, man, I'm sorry, bud. I don't care what they say. If they're going to get pissed off,
Yep.
you're not going to last.
And that's why,
you know,
that was a good advice. That was good advice.
With it.
Yeah. It's like, and I didn't.
If they don't like it, they don't like it. But,
Right.
you know, I don't think they would do the same.
Right.
If they were in a similar position. You know, I mean, they wouldn't fight if they were incapable of performing.
Yeah, it's, you know, I shouldn't have taken that fight. But at the end of the day, you know, I'm a big boy.
You want to give the benefit.
Yeah, it's like, you know, it's like, and I wanted to, you know, I wanted to follow through with it. I did. In hindsight, yeah, if I would have known my vertebrae was broke, you know, I for sure
We're
wouldn't
talking
have.
about the MMA. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, and it's, but it is.
It's a learning lesson, man.
Yeah, it's like but yeah, I was very hurt that day. And I'm lucky that, you know, that I could still, you know, do, you know, it's
the
like
things that you love.
yeah, it's like I didn't, you know, I didn't end up paralyzed, you know, it's like, but yeah, it's like, but yeah, so I have the fusion, and I've never been quite the same, you know, it's like physically, quite the same. You know, it's like, but that's okay. You know,
But I've been at your gym a few times. You seem pretty active still. You do your rows and stuff. What has everything remained the same?
So like afterwards, I just never felt quite as good. You know, I've never felt quite as good. And then, so I got tested shortly before that fight, probably 2 years or whatever. I just out of curiosity, I had my testosterone levels tested. And I was 850 at the time, which is good. That's really good for a 35-year-old guy. You know, it's like that's very high.
Good for you.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
I had it tested about 4 years ago, and I was like 290 or something like that, 280. And you know, so they
you have to do
I did the TRT. And it's like, but I did a bunch of it took me a long time to make the decision about it. It's like I had the prescription for 6 months, maybe longer. You know, but then I started doing research, like, okay, what would it cost me because it's like, you're only supposed to go down a small percent every year. And it's like, I need to go for, you know, at the time that would have been only about 10 years, 12 years in between that test and the next test. I shouldn't have went down that far, where it's like, I'm literally less than half of what I was before. And what I found is that, when you have a fusion, when you break a vertebrae, it can really mess up your testosterone hormone levels. And so then more than likely, that's why my testosterone level was low and stuff like that. And so, you know, I went on TRT, and I felt way better. If I would have, and TRT would happen to be that it was legal then, like when I would have been trying to fight, it was legal for that short amount of time. It was about 3 years.
I
Where
got
the
you.
UFC, I could have probably fought if I would have went on TRT
I see.
replacement.
I see.
So,
I see.
and but it's like then just like everybody, we all get old. But yeah, I'm active. I'm I still train 5-6 days a week. I roll a lot. It's like
It's part of your routine for your lifestyle.
I've competed since then. I've competed without TRT. I've competed with TRT now, I think.
What was the last one that you competed at?
I guess I wasn't on TRT then. I wasn't on I haven't competed since I've been on TRT. Yeah. So 2000, I think 19, I competed at the IBJJF Masters
Okay.
Worlds. I took second. I lost in the finals.
Yeah.
I thought I won,
Yeah.
but it was just one of those things. It's like I passed the guard and I was there for a little bit and they didn't give me points. And it happens. It's like
Yeah.
it's just it's like okay. But with that being said, my first match of the tournament, I'm going against there, and I have the same referee in the first match and the last match. I had the same referee the whole way through, and the first match, I'm winning the match 2-0, and with about a minute and a half left, they called me for stalling. The other guy was stalling too. They didn't, usually they penalize both of us, and so I've been called now for stalling 2 points. So now the score is tied, and I'm behind because I'm only one getting called for stalling.
Wow.
So I would have lost the match. So I, stopped stalling and I passed the guard, and but he was stalling too. It's like he was really spazzy and stuff like that. And then in the finals, I fought his teammate.
Mm.
So, and guess who the referee? Same team. And that's frustrating. That's frustrating. So I felt like
biased.
I think it was biased. It's like, and now I passed the guard. There was no reason on that first match. On the second one, I think I passed the guard also there. And it's like, but he ended up putting me back in guard.
Wow.
He won the match. So,
My question is, do they provide now if a coach is challenged? Because a lot of times you have, like the NFL, the replay when you throw a flag to question the call. Do they have those?
Yeah, they've got. I don't know if so what you're seeing like at the IBJJF tournaments, you'll see they've got a table with the head instructors, like that are over the tournament, and they have a table there, and if they have a questionable call, you'll see the referee that they're talking to him in his ear. He'll put his hand up to his ear and he's talking to him, and they'll sit and review it while they're sitting there, and so they've gotten way better about that, and they do,
but not back then. Not back then.
No, not then. No. So,
yeah.
And it's okay. It's like it's a medal. It's like it's like I think I'm better, but it's like but yeah. So I haven't competed since I was on TRT, so it's like it might feel better, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm also 52. I'll be 53 this year. So
that's great, man.
Yeah.
You're catching up with me.
Yeah,
Come on now.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah. So let's go to memory lane.
Okay.
All right. So I remember I was with my wife driving around to every place that I had the school at.
Yeah.
Just to go. And I remember in particular that one that was next to a curtain shop. Cutting corners.
Yeah.
Midway Road. And even before I had the wall mats, I remember a bunch of dents on the wall of people hitting their heads or hitting their elbows and stuff. And I recall you coming quite often to that place, amongst others. But that in particular, I have very vivid memories. How was like that trip from Fort Worth to train my gym back in those days, huh?
Yeah, it's like it was, it's like, I mean, I moved from South Dakota to Texas to train, so it's like I was here to train, so it's like, yeah, it was far, but it's like, this is what we were doing. It's like I was super excited to be training with you and trying to get better at jiu-jitsu, and it's like it was, it's like, you had guys like Tim Burrell and Robert DeFranco and all the old school guys that were
All the
there.
studs, right? Big OJB.
JB. It's like all those guys.
I used to pick on JB a lot.
Yeah, we did pick on JB. JB's just he's just such a good guy. So it's
recall, Travis, a couple of things. I recall I was doing a training that we started from the top.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you'd be on top, sometimes you'd be at the bottom. And Clay Pittman in particular,
Yeah.
he had a good X choke.
Yeah, he did.
Right?
Yeah.
And apparently he got you in one of the sessions,
Yeah.
you know. And then I'm not sure if we run out of time. And he would come maybe once a week, you know, and stuff. And then lo and behold, a week later, he shows up. And then you were there. And he said, he saw you. He said, "Oh, gosh, I know what's coming." And before he knew it, you said, "Hey, let's go, you and me. You know,
Yeah.
you're ready to go, right?"
Yeah.
So you have some training grudges sometimes if somebody gets the better of you one time?
I keep score. It's like you said. It's like I keep score of all that stuff. Yeah, I still, it's like I competed against Clay 3 times.
Yeah.
Locally at your tournaments.
Yeah.
At the Winter Wars things.
Yeah.
Back in the day. It's like, and I won all 3.
You know, in jiu-jitsu and in life, the foundation is everything. With a weak base, you cannot perform at your best. That's why I'm so excited to share Abstract Champ with you. I've been on the mats my whole life, and I know how important it is to stay connected to the ground. Abstract Champ brings that philosophy into everyday life. They're stylish, they're functional, and they're designed to evolve with you. So if you care about performance, recovery, and health from the ground up, check them out.
Yeah, it's like against Clay, it's like, and Clay's great, it's like he's super fun. It's like, but yeah, it's like in training, yeah, he was tough. He's a good training partner.
Yeah.
It's like, he's a good guy.
I tell you, man, you took no prisoners, you know. I remember one time, it had been almost a year since I saw you, and you showed up. And I think you wouldn't even care about the warm-ups. You know,
No, I
you would
don't.
just say, "I'm gonna keep to train."
Yeah.
So I'm doing whatever, teaching the class, and then, okay, time to roll. You don't even wait. You just zoom at me.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
I was like, crap.
Yeah. I
We
like
had
to
some
train.
good sessions, man.
Yeah. Carlos beat everybody back in, you
Oh, man.
destroyed everybody. So I remember Brad Rehor got you side mount. He big
Yeah,
Brad.
a good
Yeah,
side control.
it's tough, and you were stuck, and it's like, and it's like, I don't know, you eventually got away and got him. It's like, it was just, it's like he, Big Brad was pain. It's like if he got you in a side mount, it was very, very difficult to get away. I mean, it was 270 pounds.
Yeah. Guy was
It's very
strong.
Yeah, very, very strong. It's like, Jeff's still around. So it's
Yeah. That's great, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have some memories with JB. You talk about Brad, and not to say
Yeah.
anything about me, but we had, I'm not sure if you heard the story, we're in France
Yeah.
for a seminar, and there was the European runner-up champion.
Right.
And France had decent jiu-jitsu. They call it Niwaza, groundwork. They were known for their submissions and stuff. And this guy, he's, I guess I knew for Manu. I'm not sure if his name was Emmanuel, whatever. I know the previous or last European tournament, he went against Ranko Pardo, the former UFC fighter.
Okay.
And Ranko Pardo was a judo champion. He was the European champion at that time. And the guy I was about to play with was the runner-up.
Okay.
And when he got anybody on the side control, his Kezagatame or whatever, he would just take the life out of you, right?
Yeah.
And I remember first time I went to a judo place, he was there.
Yeah.
I wanted to do a roll, so I took Clay and JB. We're just rolling to get warmed up because we had a seminar a couple of days later.
Right.
I wanted to kind of break the ice and get some workout so I can get my lungs in place. And I saw him just trashing everybody, and he would do like interval training, one partner at a time. When the round was up, I said, I'm not going to wait for this guy to go too long, and I go too long and I get him when I'm already spent.
Yeah.
I want to get him right away.
Right.
And so, but I saw what he did. He would just get on top of people, and that was the end of the match. So I said, there's no way I'm going to let this guy sit on my side.
Right.
So once the match started, it didn't last 5 minutes. It lasted 20 minutes.
Oh, my gosh.
I went after him every single minute.
Yeah.
I probably put 20 submissions on him,
Yeah.
and he shook it off like it was nothing. I get him an arm bar, he'll shake it off. I got him a triangle, he'll shake it off. Shoulder
Yeah.
lock. So it was like, but he had to be on defense
Right.
for the entire time. So at that time, I had enough pressure and stamina to keep attacking
Right.
for as long as it took
Yeah.
to make sure that he never had a chance to get back at me and pass my guard and put me
Yeah.
in his strong position. So, but then at the end of the match, I guess he asked, okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
And all he said was like, man, if you were my size, I would be done by then because I'm worn out right now. He was kind of like, but then on the seminar day, I put him on his strongest position because I was trying to figure out.
Yeah.
I learned that from Hickson. Hickson would map people out
Yeah.
before he had a second bout. And I put him in the worst position. Whatever worst position I could be in against that guy,
Right.
that's the one I started the training with. But I was already kind of ready for it
Right.
because I saw how he did the first time. And I had the chance to spar him first.
Right.
So I felt him.
Felt.
And so I was able to shut it down.
Yeah.
And it psychologically gave me all the motivation to go after him because I said, if this is his best shot
Right.
and he doesn't have it,
Right.
now I'm not worried. I'm going to go and try. And I think that gives me a principle that if you don't put yourself in the worst possible positions and feel comfortable getting out.
I remember
You
you
know.
doing that in training a lot.
Yeah,
where you
all the time, right?
You'd have people start and with them fresh and on top of you in bad positions, and and then you would escape and do it again. It's like,
I
and
think
if you
it gives
couldn't
that mental, right?
and if you couldn't escape, you would sit and you'd think for a little bit. Okay, do it again. And until you could get away over and over and over again. I remember you doing that many times. It's like with guys like Brad that would hold you. It's like, okay, you grab it, and you'd let them, and you'd find your way out. It's like, no, that was impressive. It definitely, I still do similar things today.
Yeah.
It's like where that's, it's like, figure it out, find a way.
Yeah.
So
I think the thing that is intriguing about jiu-jitsu is even if you don't have a solution,
yeah,
it's a motivation to pursue
yeah,
improvement. Okay, I cannot get out of this, or I don't know yet what to do, but let's give it a try. And like you said, the research
Right.
and the trying out and small improvements in small increments. I think
Jiu-jitsu.
eventually, yeah, it's fascinating.
I
you know.
agree.
That's what I feel when I do jiu-jitsu nowadays. I always look at what everybody else is doing, and I try to take whatever I can, but I try to be mindful,
Right.
not to become a Frankenstein.
Yeah.
So I have my DNA,
Yeah.
kind of my core elements that have been ingrained in me.
Right.
And of course, I take in consideration any new information I can get. But I never deviated from that mindset that I want to make what I already know better.
Right.
So when
Yeah.
I was a white belt or a blue belt, how did I do an up escape? So my up escape now is an improvement of way back then. My shrimp.
Right.
And then you can see, what Danaher teaches, Greg Jones,
Right.
all those guys, what you do. If you see, but there's I think a limit in a time of that you spend watching things
Right.
and doing things.
Right.
So I feel my favorite thing is if I have to watch something, I want to be on the mat, watch just a little bit of it, and just spend more time doing it.
Right.
Instead of just, but I think there's always, give and take, depending where you are or what your goal might be. My goal is not necessarily for me to compete and prove a point.
Right.
I just want to grow my techniques to whatever degree I can,
Right.
that my students will have an easier time and more effective way of doing it compared to what I did when I was in their position. So
You were, your ability to teach was really, really, high level. It's like always, it's like everything that you always taught was really, really good. And it's that type of thinking that I think is why, it's like, versus a lot of guys, they do the cookie cutter thing, and it's like, oh, I'm going to teach, just this, the same techniques. And it's like, the other thing is it's like, like what you're saying, the stuff that's out now, or the slightly different, variations, it's like, I don't believe that there's anything really new in jiu-jitsu. We've been doing this for thousands of years. It's like fighting, and it's like there's different rules, there's different ways, like, it's like training in gi is different than no gi training and stuff like that. But there's nothing new. There's, it's like, in high school, I read this, I would go in the library to read about wrestling and boxing and stuff like that from the past. And I would just search through, history books to try to find anything about wrestling or anything about combat sports. That's just what I liked. And I found this, that talked about a Greek, in the Olympics, and they were talking about a wrestling match. And in this match, this undefeated champion, he'd never been defeated before. It was X amount of times that he was Olympic champion. And, he's in this match and he's losing the match. And he reached down and he grabbed the guy's ankle and he broke it. And the guy that he broke, he was in a chokehold at the time. And it's like, I'm like, chokehold? Okay, this doesn't sound like any of the wrestling that I'm familiar with.
Right.
This is way before jiu-jitsu. This is when I'm in high school and I'm just happen to be reading this. And I'm like trying to figure it out. I mean, I remember reading it over and over again, trying to understand what they were talking about. Well, it's like he did a toe hold. He grabbed the toe and he, did a toe hold. He broke the guy's leg. The guy submitted. He was in a rear naked choke, more than likely, or a guillotine or something, something more than likely a rear naked choke. And he reached down and he grabbed the guy's ankle and broke the guy's ankle. And he was carried off as a champion. He was the champion. He was dead, but he had won this match. I told this story in class one day, and one of my students went and found it. And then sent me the article about it, and I've saw it a few times and stuff like that. And it's like, but there's nothing new. And jiu-jitsu, we just sometimes rediscover things that were in the past. And it's like, you remember Nino
Shembri?
Shembri? Yes. It's like, his game looked a lot like Eddie Bravo's. It's like Eddie Bravo renamed all these moves and things like that. And Nino was doing that shit way before you. It's like, the rubber guard. Yes. Yeah. It's like, you just happen to name it. It's like, but it wasn't anything new. It's just stuff that, had been done a whole bunch of times. Everybody's body is different, and how I'm going to express myself is going to be different than yours. And he just happened to have a similar body to Eddie, where they were both super flexible and they could do those type of movements. And so,
so there's a biology class that I had, I never forgot.
Yeah.
And there's a French scientist called Lavoisier.
Okay.
And he said something like this: in nature, nothing is created. It's undiscovered and not revealed.
Right.
So once it's discovered, then it becomes revealed, or when it's revealed, it becomes discovered.
Right.
But it's like electricity has always existed.
Right.
But there was a scientist that broke it down. Okay, this is what it is, and this is how we replicate and feed civilization with electric lamps, right? But one experience I had, I was actually reading an old judo book. That's literally from the 40s or the 50s of last century.
Right.
And they had the triangle, they had the crucifix, they had all the different moves. And I know the rules of the sport change a bit the way they do it.
Right.
Because in BJJ, and I think the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu aspect with my relatives and everybody in Brazil, they spend more time developing the ground game.
Right.
And I think they added the finesse and the nuances that make BJJ unique.
Right.
But it doesn't necessarily mean that many of the submissions or positions that we talk about today, in catch wrestling, for instance, if you look at some of the old books, they have all the kimuras, the Americanas, the wrist locks. Like Eric Paulson can teach you 10 variations of an Americana with wrist locks and arm triangles and everything else. It's like, man, those guys are doing that like blindfolded, right? So, but I think though the difference nowadays is like you create systematic approach. You create a game plan where you go from a sequence here to another sequence there. So it becomes strategic. So if you go for a tournament and you're going against the clock and against another opponent that wants to counter you, you have a kind of like a loop that you can put the guy into that you kind of guide or control somewhat what the outcome might be to your behalf, to your favor.
Right.
So I see that as actually the behind the veil, because
Right.
people get stuck. It's like a glass window. You look at a shopping mall and you see what's facing you,
Right.
but not necessarily all the stuff behind.
Yeah.
But when you go deeper, you understand that it's not the mechanics alone, is the system that has to be in place to enable you to
Right.
reach out to that point.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No,
You
it
know,
does. Makes 100%
you
sense.
know, and when you coach, you're just like, you see what's going on and say, hey, position your body. I remember Roger Gracie, and he was asked, "Do you know the rubber guard, or do you know the warm guard? Do you know the De La Hiva guard, or this and that?" Said, some I know, some I don't know, some I don't do.
Right.
Some of them are unknown to me. But then the guy said, "How come nobody can pull those off on you?" Then all he said is like, "I put my body in a position that they are not
Right.
applicable." You know what I'm saying? So I think body positioning is a core element.
Yeah.
You are in the right position, then the transition can take place, then the submission can be in effect, right?
Right.
So
I agree.
I think you gotta pull off the layers
Yeah.
of making too fancy. You kind of like take away from what the core might be. You know what I'm saying? And I want to make the average Joe above average, if I
Yes.
can say that. Now, if you want to make an above average super champion, great.
Right.
But if you have a group of 100 people, out of that one, how many can you filter down? Okay, this is going to be a world champ. So
the jiu-jitsu is just like any sport in that, it's like you have athletes and not everybody's an athlete.
Yeah.
It's like, and jiu-jitsu, it's like, I think, it's like the way I look about it is it's like, in order for me to, it's like, not as much as anybody wants to train, and like they can throw a football from birth until they're 25 years old.
Yeah.
And not everybody's going to become quarterback of the Cowboys.
Yeah.
And I look at jujitsu the same. Not everybody's going to end up being really good at jujitsu. They
many
might not
pieces
be.
on the podium, right?
Yeah, it's like, I'm winning there. I think everybody can become good at jujitsu.
Yeah.
It's like they may not be amazing or anything like that because of lack of athleticism. So it's like I view different sports as like, are you athletic enough? It's like, and if you meet that minimum, it's like, it's like for MMA, I think I met the minimum level, it's like of that. And then there's guys that are more athletic than me that are, like a John Jones. It's like, I think he's crazy
He's one of a
athletic.
kind.
Yeah, it's like,
you
it's just
don't find it's so rare
right.
to find one like
It's
that.
like GSP was closer to, like the minimum than he was at the top, like a John Jones. But it's like I rank him really, really, really high on my Mount Rushmore with MMA because of his dedication and his training. I watched him train in the Ultimate Fighter. He's 23 years old. I'm 34, I think, years old on the Ultimate Fighter, and I'm watching. When we show up at the venue to train for the day, we train twice a day, 7 days a week. He was there. He was just finishing his first session of the day.
Yeah.
And then it's like, and then he would do whatever we wanted to do. He didn't care. It's like if we were doing wrestling that day, he was going to wrestle. If we were doing stand up, if we went and did sprints, he would go do sprints with us. And then the next group would come in and he would do whatever they wanted to do. And then we'd go home and eat lunch. And, it's like, and when we'd show up, guess who was there? 5 days a week, he was there. He wasn't there 7 days a week, but he was there pretty much, 5 days a
For the
week.
entire time.
And he was just finishing the next workout.
Wow.
And it's like, and then he would again do whatever we wanted to do. And then he'd do whatever the next group wanted to do.
Yeah.
And it's like, and it's like, and I'm like looking at this going, he's 23 years old. I can't do that. It's like, and that's what he was doing. And I think that's what made him great versus a lot of these guys. And he brought in his own team.
Yeah.
It's like his coaches, they were not like, these are just his coaches. He brought them with him to Vegas to film The Ultimate Fighter for, I don't know what kind of deal he got worked out with the UFC or whatever. And this is before he's champion. This is before he beat Hughes. He'd already been beat by Hughes at UFC 50. And he got an armbar. And then it's like I think the next year, or either that or it was later that year. It might've been, I think it was 2006 when he beat Matt Hughes. and it's like, and it's like, and he made it look good,
Yep.
yeah, he's so
He
good,
was already putting a good fight from the very first one.
right,
I always say you put a kimura from the bottom, when the guy's past your guard, you better watch out.
right.
They're going to circle to your head and catch you in an armbar, right?
What's
So,
funny is it's like when I fought at UFC 50 on the night that they fought, and so like we get access to the cage, and like the fighters get access to the cage, and Matt Hughes and Jeremy Horn went down to the cage, and they did that armbar over and over and over,
Man.
and it's like across that cage that night. They did it probably 10, 15 times. And it's like, and that happened to be what he submitted him with.
Yep.
It's like, I don't know if they saw something in training or what,
Yeah.
it's like, hey, we're going to take him down. And this is that submission is what we're going to do. And he,
Yeah.
and he hit
Lo
it
and
on.
behold.
Yeah. It's like, and they both took each other down in that fight. It was, it's like, it's like, and then the next one was not the same,
Yeah.
it's like, and that was after, while I was on the Ultimate Fighter, Hoist fought Matt. It's like, and Matt,
Yeah.
Hoist was older, and it's like that's
was
you know.
such a gap. That's the thing. A lot of times, what happens from the early stages of the UFC, and then you spend that amount of time, and the sport evolves so much. And,
Well,
it's just
I don't like. Okay, so like the sport definitely evolved from 1993 when the first UFC came out, and Hoist won that. Like that's why I'm in Texas. That's why is because of those fights. And it's like and I mean this is no offense to Hoist, but Hoist isn't isn't Hickson as far as athleticism. It's like, I think, Hickson, I think everybody would agree, is a better athlete probably than Hoist was, and Hoist, I think he did a lot with what he had as far as athleticism. It's just, it's like the level of athletes, I think, was better, fast forward that, from that 15
and
years.
I think the rules changed a bit in regards to
for sure.
they're as long on the ground.
Right.
If things doesn't
Yeah.
happen on the ground, they get up, more of a show as well.
Well, it's just nobody knew jiu-jitsu back then.
Yeah,
it's
that's
like,
what I meant. Jiu-jitsu was not as prevalent
yeah, nobody,
compared to
right.
when he fought Hughes.
Yeah.
But I tell you this, man, I give so much credit to Hoist, because when I spoke to him in person, and I saw him doing an interview with Joe Rogan at one point in time, and if you put Hickson back then, Hickson had the physicality. He was bigger,
Right.
stronger, whatever,
Right.
But then you put Hoist, who was skinnier, not as
Skinny.
big, not as intimidating,
No.
and he did what he did. I don't think anybody could have done better.
No,
and,
I don't.
and send
I
a
agree.
better message to what jiu-jitsu is all about, because it just showed, okay, you have a guy here who is the skinniest guy of the whole event.
Right.
You
He's
fight
not that
three guys.
athletic.
Listen, you fight three guys
Right.
in a single night with no weight division.
He's so tough.
Let me tell you this. There's no athlete today that, if you go back to those terms, would replicate what Hoist did.
No, I agree.
Not at all.
No, I agree.
Not at all.
I agree.
So-
It's like I didn't mean that as
No,
any
I'm not.
respect to
I'm not
Hoist,
trying
yeah.
to complain or,
Yeah.
or I'm not. I'm just so passionate about that, because I had to think back. People don't realize the magnitude of that when they take in consideration what happened then and what it is now, but put the rules then and go backward
Right.
to that particular point in time. How many of the guys that you have nowadays, the champions, or what, if they
Right.
started from scratch when Hoist was there,
Right.
if they would have been able to replicate to the same success what Hoist did? You know what I'm saying? It's
Hoist,
insane.
Hoist is very, it's like, as far as like doing what he did is like, no, it's crazy impressive. It's like, he's the
mean,
reason that
That's in
I'm
the
in
history.
Texas.
That's
it's
in the
like,
history.
It's like, I just, as far as a pure athlete, like if we were to measure pure athleticism,
I understand.
Yeah, it's like, no, his jiu-jitsu is great. It's like his jiu-jitsu is really
The
good.
fact that he was skinnier than Hickson, and
Right.
they put him
Right.
instead of Hickson.
Well, I think
That
it was
was
the
a
right
message, like,
message. I think it
how
was the
can that
right
be?
message.
The guy, so it's not the athleticism that led him to
Right.
win the event.
Right.
It was sheer skill set with the
Right.
knowledge that he had at the time he fought.
Yeah.
But like I said, I mean, it's amazing when you think about it. And I understand, I don't think jiu-jitsu would have been where he is right now if Royce didn't have
I agree.
that
You know, it's like that's
participation.
why I came to Texas.
You and I would never met.
Right.
Right?
It's like,
Come
you know,
on.
like that was, you know, I was just some lost kid that was in college and watched that in 1993 and said that I had to learn jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And it was because of Hoist, you know, so it's like,
How
no,
many
it's like,
people
right.
said the same? You know.
There's a lot, you know, it's like, and I moved to Texas to train with you. That's the only reason I came from South Dakota to Texas. And it was because of that event, you know, and then I watched the next one and then I watched the next one. And it's like, you know, back then they, you know, it's like they were 6 months apart or whatever.
I know,
it's like,
man.
You know,
What
it's
about nowadays with Paramount? Holy
like,
crap.
it's cool.
Now you have one every weekend, right?
Every weekend at least, you know, it's like, I mean,
Yeah.
it's like there was a, you know, they were putting on more shows a few years back, but now, yeah, it's like, I mean, they had which would have been back-to-back pay-per-views, you know,
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
level cards, you know, the 320, whatever it was the other night, you know, it's like, it was a great card. You know, the one in Sydney, Australia, was really, really good. The 1 week before that was really, really good. It's like, you know, and I know they're not going to all be like that. You know, they'll
Yeah,
be,
yeah.
you know, fight nights and stuff
Yeah,
like that. And, but no, it's like, it's, you know, it's, you know, it's crazy, you know.
Are you happy with the way MMA is going nowadays? What do you see it?
Happy with MMA.
Or not necessarily happy, like I say, how do you feel how it is today? Let's say the fighters, the events, the new deal with Paramount, all opportunities you have as a career for many aspiring competitors.
I like it a lot better than boxing. You know, it's like, you know, I like you know, it's like in boxing, you have 2 or 3 guys making crazy money and then there's everybody else and they're not making any money. And, there's no real clear path to, whereas if you can make it to the UFC, you know, and you're successful and you can do well, you know, it's like, the guys can, you know, I like that, you know, it's like, um, yeah, as far as like the rules of the UFC, I don't mind the rules of the
Yeah.
UFC. You know, it's like there's maybe a couple things that if I was, you know, doing it, but they also have to deal with states and
Yeah.
all this other stuff. I mean, at this point, I think they're kind of writing the rules,
Yeah.
for MMA. But yeah, it's like, I like that. I like that the guys are making money. I wish that there was other organizations that had success and that had survived. You know, it's like, when I was out of the UFC in 2008, there wasn't a lot of places to go make money at. And we're back there. In between now and then, you know, like then, you know, during that time, there was some competition and stuff like that. But like you know, like your average fan doesn't know anything about Pride.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, and that those were really entertaining, fun,
Yeah.
you know, fights to watch.
The Japanese can
yeah.
do a show, man.
Yeah, it was great. You know, it's like, but then there was also other problems with those fights. You know, it's like that was run by the mafia.
Yeah.
You know, they had fixed fights. They had, you know, they had all kinds of problems. It's like, you know, I remember Guy Metzger having to argue all night long to get his money. And it's like he'd fought and, you know, they were trying to short him and he had lost and they didn't want to pay him he spent all night long arguing with them and to get whatever he ended up getting that night. You know, it's like, and it's like, you're not having to do that now with the UFC and stuff like that. And it's like, and you've heard Dana talk about, you know, the purchase of Pride, you know, it's like that it was like, there's nothing we can do with this. We basically just paid for, you know,
go away.
It was just, yes, it was just a mess. And it's like, you know, it's like, and we had Affliction, we had, you know, some of these other shows that came and gone, HD Nets, you know, fights,
Yeah, I remember.
you know, yeah, with it. Mark
that
Cuban.
Cuban?
Yeah, that was Cuban. You know, it's like Cuban backed Randy Couture with a lawsuit that he had with the UFC back in around 2010 or so. You know, it's like, and
They
then,
did get a settlement, didn't they?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think he lost that. He ended up back fighting in the UFC, and that's when he won. You know, because he's the oldest champ ever. It's like, and they, you know,
He was
like,
in his early 40s, right?
yeah, 44.
Right.
If I remember right, it was 44.
Yeah.
Because Glover, I think, was 43, and he's the second oldest champ. You know, but it's like, you know, Randy's, you know, 3-time champ. Everybody talks about these 2-time champs and stuff like that. Randy was heavyweight champ and then he was 205-pound champ, and then he went back and won the
Unbelievable.
heavyweight championship
Right.
against Tim Sylvia,
Yep.
on 5-round decision. It's like it knocked him down in the first round. And it's like, I trained with Randy a couple times. He's a big guy. It's like that's he's a small heavyweight, but man, he was big. It's like I get it. I'm a
Great
185
fighter. What a
pounder,
career.
but it's like, he's got big old hands, he's got big wrists. It's like he's a big man, and good. He could wrestle, and it's like, and it's like, and he was older when he started fighting. I think he was 33 or 36 when he started fighting. It's like, so it had to be 33. Which is, a lot of guys are done by the time you're 33.
Yeah, they come from the same stable, like Dan Henderson,
Right.
And Randy. They used to have a coach, Bob Anderson, who recently passed. My brother Higgin got to know them.
Yeah.
They were doing a lot of Greco,
Right.
and they had camps and stuff. And Higgin got to interact with some of those guys. Yeah.
Well, Randy was an alternate for the Olympics in Greco, and then I think Matt Linland.
Matt Linland as well.
Matt Linland, yeah. He was a silver medalist, if I remember right.
Yep.
And then Henderson was an Olympian. I met those guys in Japan.
Yep.
On the subway. It's like we were all going to the to Pride, and so like we're probably staying at the same hotel, and we just happened to get on the subway at the same time.
Yeah.
And they were all wearing their Olympic like their
Yes.
outfits. It's like that's what they were wearing to the event, and it's like they look pretty badass, and they're their Olympic warm ups, and it was
It was a tough group.
oh my gosh,
My
yeah.
God.
It's like it's yeah. And Chael Sonnen, he was part of that group, and stuff like that. They
They're
were very
Oregon,
tough.
right?
What's that?
Is it Oregon? They were based?
Oregon, yeah, Oregon, yeah.
Yeah, well, what's going on with Travis here now? I know we had a great conversation so far.
Yeah.
And I know you have family. You have your little ones.
Yeah.
What ages they are right now?
Jordan is 26. He'll be 27 this year. Hayden is 16. She's got her driver's license.
Wow.
Paxton's 14, and Ronan is 10. So it's like I've got 4 kids.
Yeah. A lot of baseball games and soccer games. What's going on? Every time I call to show up on a weekend, I'm a coach for the baseball team or whatever. What's going on there, Trav?
Hayden's in Hayden is a cheerleader, and then she runs track and cross country.
Oh, wow.
And then just gymnastics for cheer also. Paxton is plays football, basketball, wrestling, jiu-jitsu. Hayden does jiu-jitsu also, and I think that's it. And gymnastics, he does gymnastics also. And then Ronan does football, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, gymnastics, and that's what he's doing.
How do they break down their time? I mean,
It's very difficult.
I remember my kids, I got 4 as well, when they were little and they're doing different sports. Me and my wife would have to take turns. Like she'll go to one stadium or one venue, I would go to the other. And sometimes we had to switch around because one would end up before the other. And it was just like a juggle.
Yeah, divide and conquer. It's like that's kind of the rule of the day. They're good. It's like the kids are amazing. It's like they're
Family's everything, right?
I think everybody should have kids. I think that it's like I think there's a lot of ways to fix the country and things like that, and I think that people should have more kids.
Having more kids, right?
Yeah, more kids. I should have more kids.
More kids and more jiu-jitsu.
And more kids and more jiu-jitsu. Yes, exactly.
All right. So if people want to know more about you, and why don't you give me here all the scoop? Because we're going to put on the website and on the underline on the episode.
Yeah.
But tell me where you are, where to find you, and what's your favorite move?
My favorite move. TravisLutter.com is my website. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram, Travis Lutter. Pretty easy to find me. It's like I'm in Fort Worth, Texas. I've been there for 28 years now, running a school for that long, if you can believe that. And then, my favorite move is whichever one works.
Whichever one works.
Yeah, whichever one works.
Depends.
Not picky.
Yeah.
Not picky. I just want to win.
Well, armbar from the guard. You used to like that
Yeah,
really
I did.
much.
I did.
and choking from the back.
Yeah.
And X choke too.
Yeah. I
Will you mount and do your X choke?
Yeah.
Come on, I remember.
Yeah, my fingers hurt now. So
Is
it's
that
like,
right?
yeah, so I don't hardly do the X choke anymore because of that and baseball bat choke. I don't hardly do them because of arthritis probably in my hands.
Okay.
You know,
Well, we're
so
going to
it's
have to
like-
do something about that. Maybe we can talk about that later. But with that said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. I had a blast with Travis Lutter. I'll definitely either visit him at his academy or he's going to come to mine so I can steal his secrets or see if he still remember the ones I passed to him. All right? Thank you, Travis. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, Carlos.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate you talking to me. Thank you.